Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, November 14th Traffic Commission meeting. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2024, this meeting of the Traffic Commission will be conducted via remote participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, a transcript, and other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville's website. All right, can we get a head count and for quorum?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes, here.
Lieutenant Rymel,
Here. Here.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Here.
and that's 3 present, so we have a quorum.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, meeting ground rules. Listen to the other side, please. Focus on issues, not personalities. Avoid questioning motives, and let's be polite, please. All right, moving on to item number 1. Acceptance of the minutes from the October 10th, 2024 Traffic Commission meeting. Can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 1?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Wonderful.
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote to accept item number 1, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Lieutenant Rymel,
Yes.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 3 yes, and the motion carries. And then just for attendance records, I will state welcome counselor. So we now have 4 members present.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 2, request for an accessible parking space at the following locations: 23 Knowlton Street and 54 Bromfield Road. Who is here for administration to talk on this item?
Through the chair, Adrian Pomeroy, ADA coordinator with the City of Somerville, received 2 requests for accessible parking spaces at the addresses that the chair listed. I have looked at these spaces and reviewed the applications and recommend both for approval.
And discussion on these items? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 2, request for accessible parking space at the following locations: 23 Knowlton Street and 54 Bromfield Road?
Motion to accept.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Can I get a vote to accept item number 2, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Counselor Said,
Yes.
Lieutenant Rymel,
Yes.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Moving on, thank you so much for attending. Moving on to item number 3, request to remove the loading zone at 3 Prescott Street and convert to its resident permit parking. Who is here to discuss this item? Is there someone for the
Yes.
administration?
I'm
Okay,
sorry, Chair Lathan, I'm here to discuss this item.
Oh, all right.
So the reason that we would like to remove this loading zone is the conditions at this location have changed. It was previously commercial and now it is residential. And Jackie has posted a picture up here on the screen. So you can see that the conditions it was versus what it is today.
All right. Okay, any discussion on this item? This picture is really helpful. Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 3, to remove the loading zone at 3 Prescott Street and convert to residential permit parking?
Motion
I'll
to
make
accept.
a motion to accept.
Okay,
Second.
Great.
I'm sorry.
Great.
Sorry.
So who's first? We got Councilor Said and then a second, Tierney? Is that
Sure.
Groovy? Okay, groovy. All right. Can you give me a roll call vote to accept and approve item number 3, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Counselor Said,
Yes.
Lieutenant Rymel,
That's a yes.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Rock and roll, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 4. We are cruising and grooving tonight. Walnut Street contraflow bicycling request. request to allow two-way travel for people riding bicycles on Walnut Street between Gilman Street and the community path. Who is here to discuss this item?
Through the chair, Lily Worth, Somerville Mobility Division, and I'm here to present this item. So thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing these slides. So this is actually an already built connection on Walnut Street, and the first image shows the path of travel two-way for bikes. So it connects the Gilman Street Neighborway at the bottom of the hill up to the community path. We sort of view this as a housekeeping item for some reason. The actual formal addition of Walnut Street to Schedule I, two-way travel for bikes, was never done, although this item was presented in June of 2022 to this body so that the associated parking restrictions could be proposed, and those were approved. And at that time, the design documents for the sort of raised cycle track element of this piece of infrastructure was presented at the Traffic Commission meeting. So the picture on the bottom shows the design, and at the right is the current conditions today. It took a little bit of time to build this from to connect the raised cycle track portion to the bridge deck, which has paint and flex posts. But we just want to make sure that this is formally recognized as allowing two-way travel for bikes to complete this important connection.
Wonderful. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 4, the Walnut Street contraflow bicycling request? Lieutenant Lionel?
Excuse me, motion to accept, yes.
Counselor Said?
I second.
Can I get a vote, roll call vote to approve item number 4, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Absolutely, yes.
Counselor Said,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
All righty, rock and roll. Item number 5, this is an informational item regarding the West Broadway reconstruction project. Lillian, are you also discussing this with administration?
Through the chair, this is Greg Hannafin,
Okay.
Transportation Planner, also with the Mobility Division. And I have some slides to share for this item.
Just a reminder to the committee, this is informational only. This will not require a vote at this time.
Yes, so coming today to share information about the West Broadway reconstruction project, which is the city's Complete Streets project for fiscal year 2025. And we are not requesting a formal vote today. We plan to come back at a future meeting to request a vote on changes to parking regulations, but just wanted to give the commission some background on where we're at and what we're currently proposing for changes to parking regulations and to the street in general. So some quick background on the project. The limit of work for this project is on Broadway, between Alewife Brook Parkway and just before Teal Square in the east. This project is being delivered as part of the city's pavement and sidewalk management program, which is the program to maintain and improve roadways around the city. There are several different categories of project types within this program, and this project, West Broadway, is designated as a complete street project, which enables us, in addition to replacing and reconstructing the sidewalks and streets to be up to ADA standards, also allows us to think about what other safety improvements can we make as part of this reconstruction project. There were several different criteria that went into the selection of West Broadway for the FY25 project. One of the most important was its being on the city's high crash network. So on the right is a map of the high crash network for 2018 to 2022. West Broadway is circled there, and you can see that it's highlighted in red. And then on the left, we have the crashes over a similar time period, 2018 to 2023. And at least four of these crashes, four of the reported crashes involved somebody walking, rolling, or biking on the street. Also playing an important role in the selection of West Broadway was an evaluation of the existing conditions on the street. So we found throughout this corridor that there's widespread sidewalk and pavement deterioration, substandard crossing conditions, a lack of bicycle infrastructure, many blocks with minimal or no tree canopy, and also bus stops that are not compliant with accessibility standards. So put a couple pictures on here. The one on the bottom left shows a crosswalk that does not have ramps, ADA accessible ramps. And then the right, that's actually a bus stop where you can see that the sidewalk has significant deterioration where people are loading and unloading from the bus. This section of Broadway and all of Broadway is on the bicycle network plan. This section has been designated for one-way, most of it for protected bicycle lanes in the bicycle network plan. There are also 3 neighborways that intersect with West Broadway. And those are our low stress, low volume streets that are prioritized for people walking, wheeling, and biking. This is our currently anticipated project timeline. So you can see by the "We Are Here" line that we have already been working on this project for quite some time. We're currently in our 3rd phase of community engagement. So in the fall of 23, we kicked off this project by going to the community and learning about the issues that people were facing on the street. We took what we heard, put together an initial design. This past spring, we shared the first conceptual design for the street and got feedback from the community at that time. Also worked very closely with our interdepartmental partners to review the project and get feedback. Created an updated design, and we're now at the stage of getting feedback on the updated design, and have proposed some new parking regulations for the street. After this phase of community engagement and some final internal reviews, we will propose the final 100% plans for the project. Lieutenant Ryan, do you want me to continue? Or?
Greg, I just had a quick question. The previous screen on the left-hand side, I believe that was Broadway and Russell at Broadway and Hooker. I mean, Broadway and Farragut.
This one?
Not that one, the previous one with the split screen. Right. So the one on the left that you said on the right, that's already a bus stop, or it's going to be a proposed bus stop?
It's already a bus stop.
Already.
On
Okay.
yeah.
Because the nearest one is the next one down between Farragut and Garrison, correct?
So this bus stop, I believe, is the one at Belknap, just past Belknap in the westbound direction.
No, that's Farragut and Broadway right there.
On the left picture.
On the left, that's Broadway and Russell.
Yeah, on the left is Broadway, Russell, and Farragut. On the right, I think it's a different location. I think that's
Okay.
at Belknap Street.
So the bus
This was my bus stop for 6 years when I was a teacher, as I lived across from this bus stop. So I just confirmed that it is Belknap.
That's where the bus stop's going.
So I'll run through the design. So this we are keeping a bus stop at Belknap. We're proposing to slightly shift it. But what you're seeing in this picture will be reconstructed, and
that was the confusion, because the picture I'm looking at on the left-hand side, that's Broadway and Farragut.
sorry, so that picture, the picture on the left is not indicating any bus stops. That was just showcasing the crosswalk without any ramps.
I see. Okay, sorry for the confusion. My bad. I
No,
just
no.
confused with the streets. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about
I'm sorry. Yeah, these are to illustrate, but these similar conditions are present throughout the street.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Greg, question, did you say you're shifting the bus stop? So is it going to be like,
At Belknap.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'll walk through the whole design. But for that particular bus stop, we're proposing to just shift it to the other side of Belknap. Because we're planning to create a floating bus stop. And just with the location of the crossing, putting it on the east side of Belknap creates a safer condition for people in the crosswalk.
all right, thank you.
So yeah, I'll run through our currently proposed design and the changes that we have proposed for the parking regulations. So just a few big picture things in terms of like our design priorities. One of these was creating safer crossings and intersections, and we have a few tools to do this. Shortening crossings and improving sight lines, trying to slow vehicles with traffic calming and narrower travel lanes. And again, adding connections to those future neighborways to provide alternative connections for people who are not comfortable biking on major streets like Broadway. We are proposing to install protected bike lanes in both directions of this on the street. And there'll be a mix of sidewalk level and street level protected bike lanes. And the decision to we had looked at multiple different options for the streetscape, and the decision to propose protected bike lanes in both directions was in response to our evaluation of the traffic and crash data, the community advocacy that we had heard during our community engagement, as well as thinking through all of the important bicycle connections that West Broadway, the important areas that West Broadway connects people on bike. That's Community Path, the Alewife Brook Greenway, Teal Square, Davis Square. This is just a really important connection for people that are biking around our city. As I mentioned, we are looking at every opportunity to enhance the bus rider experience. We're proposing several new floating bus stops, adding new shelters and benches at these bus stops, and also thinking about how we can optimize the stop spacing to make the experience better for people riding and help improve bus operations. We also, as part of this project, have the opportunity to beautify the street and add new amenities. I think these are things like new street trees and plantings, new benches, and new trash and recycling bins are just some examples of the new amenities that we can add. So on the parking regulations, we are preserving one side of on-street parking for the entire street. The proposed reduction of on-street parking for West Broadway is from approximately 62 parking spaces today to approximately 32 spaces in our current design. We're prioritizing preserving that parking and loading near the businesses on the street. One of our goals has also been to increase the number of accessible parking spaces. And we're also looking at where we can optimize the parking regulations to fit the needs of all of the users of this street. We conducted a parking study in November of 2023, and I can dig into more details after the presentation if there are questions. But we collected parking counts at 3 times a day all along this section of Broadway, as well as about 200 feet down all of the side streets. What was found is that depending on the time of day, there were between 26 to 31 parking spaces available on Broadway itself, and between 35 to 61 parking spaces available on the side streets. So we anticipate that even with the removal of approximately 30 spaces on Broadway, that the parking demand of this area will be met with the remaining existing parking. So now I'll walk through the designs themselves and point out the areas where the parking regulations are, or what the currently proposed regulations are. So this is the section of the street between Alewife Parkway and about Victoria Street. So we again have the protected bike lanes in both directions. We are proposing a number of curb extensions on Broadway to really shorten up those crossings. And there are 2 bus stops in this area. We have the busway, which is not included as part of the project, and so no changes as part of this project. We are proposing to consolidate 2 very close bus stops at the Stop and Shop and at North Street in the westbound direction to a new floating bus stop across from the busway and near the cemetery. The parking regulations here, we're maintaining all of the parking on the north side of the street between Alewife Parkway and Barton, which is just off the screen to the right. The parking by the Stop and Shop is currently 2 hour except by permit, and we're not proposing to make any changes there. We are proposing to flip the bus stop at North Street and the parking. So there are 2 metered spaces where the proposed bus stop is going to be, and the bus stop is where the meters are proposed. So we're flipping those. And so this actually puts the parking meters a bit closer to the businesses by North Street. And then in front of that block of businesses on North Street, it's currently 4 meters and 1 20-foot loading zone. We had heard from the businesses in our engagement with them that they're interested in expanding that loading zone, both for commercial loading activities and for more short-term customer pickup. So we're proposing to expand that to a 40-foot loading zone, which is the standard size for a city loading zone, maintain 2 metered parking spaces, and add a new handicap accessible parking space. On the next section of the street, between Victoria Street and Endicott Avenue, this is where that Belknap Street bus stop is, right in the middle of the screen. So we are just proposing to shift that a little bit east and make that a floating bus stop. On the opposite side of the street, the inbound bus stop is proposed to remain the same as it is today against the curb, and we're not proposing to shift that one. Again, the protected bike lanes continue in both directions. Between Farragut Ave and Endicott Ave, we're proposing a raised block, and this is to connect the 2 neighborways that I was talking about previously on Russell Road and Endicott Avenue. So we really are trying to highlight this area of the street as one where we may have people biking or walking who are less comfortable crossing the street, and really highlighting those potential conflict areas. So the goal here is to slow down vehicles as much as possible and make them really aware that this is an area that they need to be paying attention. For the parking regulations on the west of Russell Road, parking will be on the north side of the street. And this is all currently 2 hour except by permit, and it's proposed to be to remain that way. East of Farragut, the parking regulations are also remaining the same as they are today. So it'll be 2 hour except by permit on the block between Farragut Ave and Endicott Ave, and then east of Endicott Ave, we have another block of businesses where there are currently parking meters, and it's proposed to remain parking meters. We're also proposing to add create a new floating bus stop at Weston Ave. It's in the same location as the bus stop is today, but we're bumping that out to create a floating bus stop. So this is the final section of the street between Endicott Ave and Teal Square. Similar conditions with the protected bike lanes in both directions. 2 new floating bus stops at Weston Ave inbound and Dixon Street outbound. Parking is being retained on the north side of the street. And in front of the block of businesses east of Hill Street. Currently, this is metered parking and a 40-foot loading zone. So we're maintaining the 40-foot loading zone and the metered parking and adding a new handicap accessible space. There's currently one on the south side of the street, and that is being relocated to the north side of the street to be closer to the businesses. There was no record of the request for the accessible space on the south side of the street, so we wanted to check and make sure that we weren't removing a space that had been requested by a resident of the housing down there. So there was no record of that space being requested, and we did observations with the help of the parking department and did not find that there was a consistent use of that space. So we felt that it would be better prioritized shifting it across the street near those businesses. And then west of Hill Street, we're actually able, with the transition of the bus stop from a curbside space to a floating bus stop, we're actually able to create some new parking spaces there, and we're proposing for that to be metered spaces as well to serve the needs of the businesses on this block. So one other parking regulation change that we are currently proposing in our discussions with the community and the feedback that we heard when we have presented these plans, we've heard concern from both the businesses and from residents about some of the potential parking impacts of on-street parking removal on Broadway for the small businesses on this stretch. So what we are proposing to do currently is to convert some of the resident permit parking spaces on side streets near businesses from resident permit parking to 2-hour except by permit. And this is on select streets that abut blocks of businesses, and this would create some greater flexibility, allowing customers and non-residents to use those spaces for up to 2 hours, but also not prohibiting residents from parking there without a time restriction. So in our discussions with the community so far, we have heard overall a positive response to this proposal, with community members feeling like it balances well both the needs of the restaurant or needs of the residents, as well as creating some additional flexibility for the businesses. So what comes next? So as I mentioned, we're currently in a public feedback period. We have a project survey that is open until November 22nd. We have a number of in-person community activities that we have already held and will be holding through the end of the month, including some larger community-wide events such as our open house and on-street pop-up and some virtual opportunities, as well as meetings with specific groups like residents at the Clarendon Hill Towers, and block walking to talk with businesses on the street. And once again, this is our timeline. So we are nearing the end of this community engagement period. We will be getting feedback from the public on this proposal, including on the proposed changes to the parking regulations. We will take all the feedback that we hear, possibly make some tweaks to the design, and then plan to come back to the commission at a future meeting when we have our final proposal. So thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Thank you, Greg, for the thorough presentation. We look forward to the future process. All righty, team. That seems to be it. Unless I'm missing something. All right. Well, I adore and love you, but it's time to go. So can I get a motion to adjourn this wonderful meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And can I get a second from that beautiful child, Councilor Said?
His second.
Hello, my gorgeous.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, honey. That just made my night. All right, can I get a roll call vote to adjourn this meeting, please?
Now I don't want to adjourn it.
Yeah.
Hello.
I don't-
Hi.
Hi, honey.
Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Councillor Said,
Yes.
Lieutenant Rymel,
Yes.
Assistant Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the meeting is adjourned.
All right,
Bye.
groovy tunes. Cool beans. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
team.